Echoes of Roanoke, the Gray-Eyed Indians and the survival of Raleigh's lost colony. The fate of the lost colony of Roanoke has haunted the American historical landscape for centuries, inspiring countless theories, legends, and mysteries. In 1587, over 100 English settlers, including men, women, and children, arrived at Roanoke Island, located just off the coast of what is now North Carolina. They had been sent by Sir Walter Raleigh, who hoped to establish a permanent English settlement in the New World. But the colonists' dreams were thwarted by a combination of harsh conditions, internal discord, and outside threats. In 1590, Governor John White, who had left for England to fetch supplies, returned to find the colony completely abandoned. When White returned to Roanoke Island, he found little more than a puzzling fragment of the past, the word Croatoan carved deeply into a wooden post, and the faint letters Crow scratched into the bark of a nearby tree. There were no signs of panic, no remnants of a hurried departure, and no evidence of violence or struggle. The settlement had been abandoned without a trace, as though its people had simply disappeared into the wilderness, without a single disturbance to mark their exit. The disappearance of the colony has perplexed historians and inspired theories ranging from violent massacres at the hands of Native American tribes to the settlers' ill-fated attempt to sail back to England. Yet, despite the numerous speculative explanations, one theory has consistently stood apart, a theory that suggests the settlers didn't perish at all. Instead, they integrated into the local Native American tribes, living on in a new form. This theory, persistently overlooked by mainstream historians, argues that the settlers may have assimilated into the Croatoan tribe, and their legacy continued, not as a forgotten chapter of English history, but woven into the fabric of Native American culture. Their story, albeit silent and obscured, may have been alive and thriving, hidden in plain sight. As European explorers and settlers began to push further into the southeastern United States in the early 1700s, a curious phenomenon began to emerge in the accounts of these explorers. In their journeys through the Carolinas and surrounding regions, explorers began to encounter Native American tribes who spoke a peculiar version of English. This language wasn't entirely recognizable as the English spoken by settlers in the 18th century. Instead, it was a corrupted form, one that retained elements of Elizabethan English from the late 16th century, the time when the Roanoke colonists had first arrived. Even more remarkable were the physical descriptions of some of the native people encountered during these expeditions. These tribes were reported to have lighter skin, gray or blue eyes, and even fair hair, traits that were unusual, if not unheard of, among the indigenous peoples of the region. These striking physical characteristics caught the attention of explorers, especially because such traits were consistent across multiple accounts, suggesting a shared origin. One of the most notable records of these encounters came from John Lawson, a surveyor and naturalist who traveled through the backcountry of the Carolinas in the early 18th century. Lawson met members of the Hatteras tribe, a group associated with the Croatoan, and he was struck by their European features. Some of these individuals claimed that their ancestors were white, and even spoke of their forebears as being able to talk out of a book. This phrase was interpreted to mean that their ancestors were literate, a clear indication that they had once belonged to a European-speaking society. Lawson's detailed observations pointed to the possibility that these people, with their peculiar blend of English and Native American heritage, were the descendants of the Roanoke colonists. He noted their gray eyes, a rare trait among Native Americans, and remarked on the similarities between their agricultural practices and those of the English. This was not an isolated observation. Other explorers recorded similar experiences with the Tuscarora and Nottoway tribes, where members displayed physical features and spoke in a manner that strongly resembled the early English settlers. For many years, these accounts were dismissed as curiosities, perhaps born out of misunderstandings or exaggerations. However, in light of the growing body of evidence, the theory began to gain traction. Some historians began to piece together the theory that the colonists, facing starvation, disease, and constant tension with neighboring tribes, likely fled their settlement in search of refuge. The carved word Croatoan was not just a random inscription, but a sign pointing to the nearby Croatoan tribe, with whom the settlers had established positive relations. The Croatoan people were known to have assisted the English in the past, and it is possible that the colonists, realizing they had no other option, joined the tribe in order to survive. The most compelling aspect of this theory is the possibility that the Roanoke colonists did not perish in the traditional sense. Instead, they integrated into the Croatoan community and, over time, merged with the local Native American population. This assimilation would have been gradual, taking place over generations as the colonists married into the tribe and passed down their language and customs. While their European origins may have faded over time, certain linguistic and cultural traces may have persisted. If the colonists did indeed survive in this way, their presence would have been recorded in the oral histories of the native tribes, even as their English identity was erased. In essence, they would have become part of the native world, their survival marked not by the written word, but by the quiet persistence of their descendants. The most significant evidence of this theory can be found among the Lumbee tribe of North Carolina, who have long claimed descent from the Roanoke colonists. The Lumbee, a large and distinct tribe, have long maintained that their ancestors were a mix of European settlers and Native Americans. Their oral traditions tell stories of white ancestors, shipwrecks, and new beginnings on the shores of North Carolina. The Lumbee people carry surnames that match those of the original Roanoke settlers, such as Dial, Locklear, and Oxendine, suggesting a direct connection to the lost colonists. While genetic testing has provided mixed results, the presence of European genetic markers in some members of the Lumbee and other regional tribes suggests that their claims are not entirely without merit. Archaeological findings have further supported this idea, with European-made artifacts, such as English pottery and metal tools, being discovered at Native American village sites that were located well beyond the usual trade routes for such items. This suggests that there was more than just casual contact between the indigenous populations and the English settlers. The story of the Gray-eyed Indians, as they have come to be known, is not merely one of survival, but one of cultural reinvention and adaptation. It challenges our understanding of the lost colony, not as a tragic failure, but as a hidden success. These gray-eyed descendants, who speak in dialects and carry with them both English and Native American traditions, represent a different kind of American origin story. It's a story not rooted in conquest and subjugation, but in connection and coexistence. The survival of the Roanoke settlers in this form offers a fascinating glimpse into the potential for cultural fusion in a time when such blending was often seen as impossible. Today, the Gray-eyed Indians stand as a reminder that history is often not written in the way we expect. The official narrative of the lost colony is one of disappearance, but what if that narrative is incomplete? What if the true story is one of survival, reinvention, and adaptation? The descendants of the Roanoke colonists, living on in Native American communities across the region, offer a new perspective on identity, survival, and historical memory. Their existence blurs the lines between English and Native, between colonizer and colonized, offering a glimpse of a different kind of American heritage, one not written in the history books, but told in the stories passed down through generations. Perhaps the mystery of the lost colony will never be fully solved. But in the Gray-eyed Indians, we may already have the answer, quietly waiting to be recognized. Their survival wasn't just a matter of endurance, it was a matter of transformation. A transformation that challenges everything we thought we knew about the fate of the Roanoke colonists and their place in the story of America.